And it's time for news. BT on Metro TV. We're live from the Akua Boahema studio at North Ridge. We're streaming on channel 277 DSTV, and also follow us on social media. It's Metro TV Ghana on Facebook, Metro TV _GH on Twitter and Instagram. We'll take a look at headlines of the stories coming up in 1 hour. Government to officially begin discussion with officials of International Monetary Fund over possible bailout. We'll bring you up to the minute updates. Teacher unions in a defiant mood after government's meeting with them on Wednesday ended in a stalemate. And drivers along the Amasaman stretch. In other stories, drivers among Amasaman stretch demand the immediate reintroduction of road tolls after government fails to rope in estimated revenue with the levy. On a foreign front, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson resigned as Conservative leader today and make a statement to that country, UK. We go straight into IMF. The government will begin talks with officials from the International Monetary Fund today on a possible bailout. The decision is to help the government shore up the country's reserve, stabilize the city, and restore economic growth. Some economists say this move will stimulate investor confidence. Let's join my colleague Winston Take, who has pitched camp at the ministry and will come through with some updates. And Winston, thank you for your time. You're welcome to Newsweek. Good afternoon.
1 2 1 2. Yes, I'm at the venue of the Finance Ministry as of now. It appears that there is a meeting still ongoing with the IMF team together with the Ghana team. Today's day 2 discussion is centered on comparison of figures, comparison of books. As of now, the Statistical Service team, together with team from the Bank of Ghana, are in the closed-door meeting with the IMF team, and both of them are looking at the book to see whether the figures being channeled by the government of Ghana are in line with the document that the IMF team are also having as a moment. So that is the day 2 consultation that is going on now. But through some information I gathered also showed that by this afternoon, what they are discussing has to do with the books, but in the evening they'll be comparing the revenue streams of government, whether indeed we've been able to generate enough for to ensure the economy is moving on.
What exactly do you think happened yesterday? Did you pick any details of maybe the outcome of yesterday's meeting?
Yes, from yesterday, yesterday was just an introduction where both of them decided to meet and tit-to-tat with regards to what indeed the government of Ghana will have to offer. But today, actually, like I said earlier, they are looking at what they can indeed put in place as a strategy, what the government of Ghana can also see. So when today's own ends, they are looking at seeing what offer will best suit our economy as of now, because information I gathered suggests that until that is done, discussions are done, we cannot get what we want. It is two ways, whether what the IMF is giving will suit us, or they may have to customize a policy that will suit our economic demand.
Right. Winston Taki, thank you for the updates. Now, former Deputy Finance Minister Fifi Kwete has called for the resignation of the Vice President and the Finance Minister for mismanaging the economy and leading Ghana to the IMF. According to him, although the Eswa Mahama government handed over a prosperous economy to the Nanado-led administration, the lack of leadership on the part of government has led Ghana into a ditch.
We hear our friends trying to pretend that the problem is because of some COVID or some Ukraine. It's not true. It's not true. Togo is not going to IMF. Benin is not going. Ivory Coast is not going. Burkina is not going. Guinea is not going. None of them is going. Only us are going. Purely because we have completely mismanaged the economy. It's a complete leadership crisis. Because unfortunately, this actually is a regime that has had the greatest benefit. I mean, they have 3 oil fields. They have had access to the largest resource envelope in the history of our country, 500 billion plus in the space of just 5.5 years. You know, so they've had great goodwill. They had a foundation, solid foundation that was handed over to them. I mean, the greatest portfolio of investment in every sector, health, education, energy, infrastructure, roads, everything was handed over to them. They had balance of payment surplus. So solid foundations were laid to them. And they still, within a short space of 5.5 years, have taken us to the IMF. It's terrible. Because the president's own vice president, who is the chairman of the economic management, is an integral part of the calamity. So if anything at all, there should be a resignation by both the vice president and the finance minister. If it were possible, the president himself should be leaving back. It's difficult to say everybody should go. So at least those two should actually not even have the moral authority to still be talking about presiding over the finances of this country.
Now, same person, Fifi Kwete, who is former Deputy Finance Minister, says International Monetary Fund is going to insist on debt restructuring to help restore confidence in Ghana's economy. According to him, the reckless borrowing from the Akufo-Addo-led administration has to cease.
Once you push beyond 80% debt to GDP ratio, you're talking at the moment we are going to be needing close to 50 billion just to take care of our debt servicing. In 2016, we were talking about 11. We are talking now about almost 50 by the close of this year. That's massive. I mean, that's really like you are using virtually all your money to be taking care of just debt and compensation. So debt restructuring is possibly going to be one of the main things that IMF, because I mean, how are you going to cope that? Because you are almost in unsustainable debt level. 80% is serious. It's serious. I mean, we did not even have to reach 80% to enter HIPC back in 2001. And you are across 80%. That's absolutely a calamity. So as it is now, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if IMF start insisting that some conversation be had relating to the unsustainable level of our debt. If the truth is that we have no option, because if we are interested in getting back to the financial market to be able to still borrow, clearly IMF is going to insist that something be done about the debt profile. Otherwise, we are going to simply continue on the reckless path that we have been on. I mean, how can you take over a country that had 120 billion in terms of total debt at the end of 2016? The whole of 8 years of NDC, we took the debt from, let's say, 10 billion and ended up at 120, meaning 110 in addition. And you, within a space of 5.5, take it from 120 to about 400 billion. That's absolutely, I mean, astronomical. And that requires that some conversation be had relating to debt restructuring.
Well, so there have been cries against government's decision to seek support from the IMF. What do local industry players think? Joining me on Zoom is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of the Ghana Industries, Chonam Akpelu, to tell us more on their position on government's decision to go to the IMF. Chonam, thank you for your time. You're welcome to Newsbeat. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners as well.
So,
essentially...
Sorry, sir?
Hello?
Yes.
Please ask the question.
Yeah, okay. So I'm asking, what is your industry's position on government now going to the IMF?
Well, for us in AGI, we realize that it appears that going to IMF is almost the last resort. And so we may not have a position whether government should be going to IMF or not, because we are there already. The concern for industry now is really about how into IMF impacts on industry locally. That's really our concern now.
And And
I would like
in
to
the
begin by
previous,
saying that
in our previous negotiations with the IMF, how has it impacted? Has it been negative? Has it been positive? And considering the current situation, you don't think you need it?
well, the reality is this. IMF come with conditionalities. Every IMF program, as you've seen in the past, will come with different sets of conditionalities. We feel that these are the conditionalities that we need to know. For example, we cannot see an IMF program without asking for an increase in utility bills. So you should expect that water bills go up, electricity bills will go up. Already, industry is burdened with a lot of bills already. The taxes are high, etc. So imagine an IMF program which will be asking for an increase in electricity bill. It's almost as though we'll be crashing out of business. So we are really concerned. We're actually even asking that we should be part of some of the discussion to ensure that some of these conditionalities may not impact industry negatively.
But with regards to utility bills, you were in the country when the PURC, CG, Ghana Water Company had already indicated that they have to do some increment. Ghana Water asking for more than 300%, ECG, asking for almost more than 100%. Didn't you hear that? You are, coming against it because IMF is coming in the picture?
Good point. So we had engaged them. We had a stakeholder engagement, and we told them that we cannot witness any increase again because industry is already burdened. So we were having that discussion, and it appears that they do understand our position. What I'm saying is that IMF would, as a matter of necessity, insist on some of these conditionalities. So it will no longer be with PURC. It would be that as part of the conditionalities, some of these bills has to go up. And I'm saying that's where industry is concerned. Imagine if the government ordinarily is going to increase the bills and IMF is also asking for more bills to be piled out. Industry will continue to be more burdened. That's our point. But we also think that going to IMF may also help stabilize the economy, really, because it appears that the economy is in disequilibrium.
Okay, so what was the outcome of your discussion with the utility companies when you went into a meeting with them?
Well, we were very clear to them that we can no longer continue to bear any increase in utility bills. So they are yet to get back to us. They promised to get back. They are yet to get back. But we are very clear that industry is already burdened and we cannot continue to pay more bills.
What will you do if the IMF negotiations come up with your fears?
Please ask the question again.
What will you do if the negotiations end up with, conditions that actually will not consider what you are saying and would give us any conditions for us to go by?
So that's the point. So what we are doing now is to begin to engage very heavily the Ministry of Finance to ensure that we're properly, involved in all of this process to ensure that some of these conditionalities are mitigated. The only way out of this situation of periodically going to IMF is to develop local industries. If we were having massive local industrialization plan that allows us to produce the goods we consume here, we may not need to be borrowing money all the time, and we may not need to be dealing with this exchange rate situation. So it is in the interest of not only government, but also the citizens of Ghana to see local industry grow so that we can employ more people and make sure that our local currency, the value of our local currency is restored.
Right. Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chona Makpalo, thank you for speaking to us. We'll get back to you to see how you're going with your proposals. Now, the 2020 flag bearer of the All People's Party says Ghana had to turn to the IMF because the NPP government has poorly managed the economy. According to Dr. Hassan Ayariga, the attitude of corrupt officials has further compounded the situation.
Let's
Well, we apologize for the poor sound. We'll get that to you in subsequent bulletin. But let's move to Dr. Atta Kennedy, who he says, how will the U-turn by the government to seek IMF bailout affect the chances of MPP in the next election? Now, joining me via Zoom is Dr. Kobna Atta Kennedy, stalwart of the New Patriotic Party, who has lately been very vociferous on issues of the economy. Thank you, Doctor, and good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us on Newsbeat.
Hello.
Yes, Doctor, I can hear you. Good afternoon to you.
Yes, I think that it is certainly not a good development for Ghana or for NPP for us to be going to the IMF at this time. But there is a silver lining. The silver lining is that first, the government has recognized that there are difficulties. A lot of people have been talking about things not going well. And finally, the president and his cabinet have acknowledged that there is indeed a problem. The silver lining is that it is 2 years to the next election. And as anyone knows who has followed politics, 2 years is an eternity. So it means that if this engagement with the IMF is handled well, and 2 years from now we see stability and progress, then the MPP can make a case. But I think that all political actors must be careful how we speak. The MPP said a lot of irresponsible things about our previous engagement with the IMF. They accused President Mahama of incompetence and all kinds of things. And it seems like we are being paid back. I think that we should stop politicizing these issues. I think if, in addition to engaging the IMF, the president's communication with the country, he must lead this communication as humble, acknowledging mistakes, accepting that this did not just come about because of COVID and the war, but also from mismanagement and failure to protect the public purse. We need to change the face of our economic management team. If we do all these things and we communicate well, it might be that 2 years from now, as we head into the election, the party's fortunes would have taken an upswing.
Let me, find out from you, is this re-establishing the economy, is it hovering around any political party's chances of winning elections, or we're really, as leaders, interested in fixing the country and letting the ordinary person survive?
I think it is both, but more importantly, I think we should think about the country. This is about ordinary people and how they are living, the hardships, the teachers and others who are going on strike. So we need to stabilize the economy so that we can improve the lives of ordinary people and let the political chips fall where they may. But my point is that politicians will tend to politicize this. But I think for now, the MPP and indeed the NDC should not worry about the politics of it. They should worry about saving the country. And 2 years from now, based on where we are, we can argue about who did what. From our track record, it seems like probably this will not be our last engagement with the IMF. So all political actors must speak with caution.
What do you think about the suggestions by some analysts, political leaders, that the leaders, that is our finance minister, vice president, who led us into this ditch, must not lead the team in negotiating, but obviously that's what has already started?
I think it is a reasonable point because on principle, even if we think they may not have done anything wrong, where we are shows that their leadership has not been successful. I remember that a few years ago, after winning the Champions League, the year after, Real Madrid lost and Ancelotti was fired. And the president of the club said, if there is failure, there must be changes. So I think that in the same vein, the president cannot lead this rejuvenation of restructuring with the same team that took us to the problem where we are. So I think that the call for changes is a very valid one. And if I were the president, I would heed that and take this opportunity to bring a significant restructuring of a government so that it will signal to the Ghanaian public that he has heard their concerns and is serious about addressing them.
There's also been concerns about Ghana going to the IMF. This is about the 18th time. Obviously, the country isn't learning. And so there's suggestions of people or analysts asking that when these negotiations go through, the leaders from both leading political parties, must make it a point of coming around the table and making sure that they both put the country on the right path. So it is, the cycle of going to the IMF will stop at a point. What will you say to that?
I think actually that is a good idea, because it sounds like we're not making progress. After every few years, a government will announce triumphantly that we have exited an IMF program, and then a few years later we are back to the same place. So I think that it is time for an important national conversation about why we keep going, and to map out a strategy for how we can hopefully permanently disengage. And I also hope that around this particular engagement, there will be a national consensus about protecting the most vulnerable in our society. I think one of the things that make people very nervous is that whenever we go to the IMF, we balance our books on the backs of the poor, and it is important that the poor be protected and that there be a national bipartisan approach so that we do not turn this into political football and look to exploit it just for the purposes of the next election. We must think of the next generation.
Right. Dr. Kobina Arthur Kennedy, thank you for speaking to us here on Newsbeat. We'll get back to you some of our time. You're still watching Newsbeat. Now, let's go back to the earlier story where 2020 flag bearer of the All People's Party says Ghana had to turn to the IMF because the NPP government has poorly managed the economy. According to Dr. Hassan Ayariga, the attitude of the corrupt officials has further compounded the situation.
Jelena Georgieva conveying Ghana's decision to engage with the fund. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, Ghana is seeking an IMF bailout for the 17th time. Former President John Mahama and the NDC took Ghana to IMF program in 2015. Today, we are again heading to IMF for another bailout program. Ghana's economic downturn started even before the arrival of COVID-19, and both the IMF and the World Bank have echoed it in their report. Ghana's swift journey to IMF corroborates the fact that both the NDC and the MPP has nothing to offer our beloved country, Ghana. Government is arguing that our economy is performing terribly because of COVID-19 and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I however, wish to ask, is the impact of COVID-19 and Russia war against Ukraine exclusively a situation against Ghana? How can a global phenomenon skip Cote d'Ivoire and all the surrounding countries and only attack Ghana? How? How does it happen? Ladies and gentlemen, the MPP in 2017 outdoored the much touted economic management team chaired by the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Senior Minister Ya Osofo Maafo as Vice Chair. Other members are Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister for Finance, Dr. Owusu Afriyie Akoto, Minister of Food and Agriculture, John Peter Amewu, Minister for Energy, Professor George Jan Banfo, Minister for Planning, Alan Kojok Chirmante, Minister for Trade and Industry, and Dr. Antonio Akoto Osei, Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, with Joe Amwa Tufo as the team's secretary. What a team. What a team. Ladies and gentlemen, the all-known economic management team, headed by the economic messiah, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, failed to deliver after a series of audacious promises to transform Ghana from consumption to production and arrest the dollar. The MPP again dissolved the economic management team after a series of setbacks, constituted a committee of 20 eminent persons to manage Ghana's alien economy. The committee performed worse than the Bawumia-led economic management team.
And you're still watching Newsbeat on Metro TV. We'll take a breather. I'll be back shortly with some more stories. You're welcome back to Newsbeat. Now, some more stories. Public schools in the central region have closed down following the strike action instituted by the various teacher unions. The first day of the strike saw most of the schools closing as early as 10 a.m. As of today, the effects of the strike is glaring as compounds of all public schools are empty with no single teacher or pupil. Now, so in the schools, the striking teachers on Wednesday met officials from government to discuss their demand for cost of living allowance. Now, we are informed that the meeting was inconclusive. General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa, joins me via Zoom to tell us more. Thomas, thank you for your time. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you, and good afternoon to yourself and to all your viewers.
I have actually seen headlines of some government officials saying that if government had the money, it would have met your needs at this time. And maybe because it doesn't, it's struggling a little bit. What do you make of that?
Please,
Hello?
your line was breaking, and can you take it up again?
So what I'm saying is that government has indicated that if it had money, it would have met your needs that you're demanding now. But because it doesn't have the means, it's a bit of a struggle. Why don't you just relax your punishment of government a bit and go back to the classroom?
So, yeah, you need to look at the both sides of the coin. If government says that it has no money, what about the Ghanaian worker? Does the Ghanaian worker has money? That is the question we all need to ask ourselves. Sacrifices have been made in the past, and sacrifices continue to be made by the Ghanaian worker. And so if at this particular point in time, we have triggered the issue of granting COLA to teachers, and particularly the Ghanaian worker, now we think that is how we should go. And yesterday, we had a negotiation, or we had a discussion, and we all agreed that we will revert and come.
But, you know, this is cost of living allowance, right? Hello, Thomas. Hello. All right, so we're trying to have a conversation with Thomas Musa, who is NAT General Secretary. Thomas, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
All right,
Can you hear me?
Right, yeah, I can hear you now. So I was saying that this is cost of living allowance, which you call it COLA. It's an allowance. It's not necessarily your salary. But government, obviously, we are in a situation where everybody seems to be struggling. And even your strike seemed to have opened the floodgate for other organizations to also join in. Do you not think that you're being too hard on government, considering what the country is going through now?
Yes. We started this thing as far back as February. And normally when you go to do negotiation, if you look at the agreement we had in both 2021 and 2022, there is what we call the wage opener clause, that at any point in time that the economic variables that inform the agreement, if there is any significant change in them, we can come back and trigger that the wage opener clause. Given the current environment we find ourselves, we did not trigger that one, but we rather went in for COLA, because that one we can all easily accommodate. So we went in for the COLA as far back as February. We've been sending notices, and before we got to the month of June, if you bear us witness that somewhere in 1st May, during the workers' parade, same issue came up. We requested for 20% COLA. And the Secretary General, Dr. Yalba, made that particular point. It looks like that attention was not given to it. Then workers across the country started serving notice that if by the close of June, nothing is done, then they will advise themselves. And that is what has brought us where we are today. So nobody is being harsh. It is because of the economic environment. And typically saying that it has affected the human security of workers. And for that matter, the 20% COLA is the way to go. Let's cushion workers in 2022 as we negotiate for the base pay in 2023.
Yesterday, your meeting ended in a stalemate. Can you tell us exactly what happened and how it ended, details of how it ended?
Certainly, it is the same old thing, pleadings, the pleadings and all those things, same old thing. And we also indicated to them that it is because of the current situation that we find ourselves. Look, today, the amount of goods and services that your salary can buy as far back as January 2022, you can't buy same today. If you have an amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis somewhere, let's say in December last year, the same amount of money now is like an amount of 1,000 Ghana cedis in your hands, because the amount of goods and services that you can buy, you cannot buy same as in December. We all know that one. This is not something that we need to belabor it. And like I have told you, we decided not to trigger the wage opener clause. That could have been more dire. But we went in for the COLA. And so we believe that, you look at the typical Ghanaian worker. Ask yourself, how much is the 20% COLA on that particular amount? So the way to go.
Right. Thomas, thank you for speaking with us. We'll get back to you. Thomas Musa is NAT secretary. That's one of the Teachers Association who is part of the group that has called for strike. Let's do some more stories. And ranking member of the Parliament Educational Committee, Peter Nochukutu, is urging and calling for a closure of basic schools across the country as the industrial action of teachers enters Day 3. He's been speaking on original TVs to Cynthia Akans.
My information is that the directive is at the heads of the schools. Yeah, automatically they must be there. They cannot leave the school unattended to. So you as the head of the institution, when your workers are on strike, you have a responsibility to be in the office. Yeah, anybody can come to inquire about one or two things. You must be there to assist or answer. But some parents have already withdrawn their wards from especially basic schools. They are not going. My investigation also showed that it's only the basic 9 students who are going there. They sit down and then probably do their private studies. That's why there's a need for the head of the institution to be there, probably to supervise them. Yeah, but no teacher will come and teach. Yeah, so that's why it is important that government takes a necessary action rapidly to resolve this matter. One, because there's nothing on the table now. The demand of the teachers is 20% COLA. What can government do? We cannot do, or we can do 5% or anything else. Let government say something. Then if they are refusing, then we can come in and say, looking at the circumstances, can you accept it for government? Yeah, so we will come in as a final mediator. Yes, when things go way high.
Majority of drivers who ply the Amasaman Road are calling for the reintroduction of the collection of tolls. According to them, tolls, once properly accounted for, will generate more revenue for government to fix poor roads. Now, their calls follow the submission of a petition by a former toll booth worker to Parliament on Tuesday.
The Ministry of Roads and Highways directed the discontinuation of the collection of tolls on all public roads and bridges across the country from November 2021. The directive followed the announcement by the Finance Ministry of the scrapping of tolls on all public roads. However, there have been recent calls for the restoration of the collection of tolls following the country's economic crisis. The Minority Caucus is one of the key officials advocating for this. Some drivers plying the Amasaman Road, however, expressed different opinions about the restoration of the tolls.
Prices of fuel are up due to irrelevant taxes. They should restore the toll booths, put checks and balances in place to avoid revenue leakages. In doing so, they should review prices of fuel downwards to lessen the burden on drivers. The road toll need to be reintroduced. The roads are worse than before, so revenues from the toll collection may help to fix them.
The road toll is better option to the e-levy. They should reintroduce it and institute measures against corruption for utmost benefit. Knowing the monies paid are used for their intended purpose will make it possible for all citizens to embrace it. The tolls should not be reintroduced. If you take a look at our roads, you will notice that from Achimota to Kumasi, the road is bad. So what did they use the toll revenue for? We do not want it again.
Me, I travel to along countries like Togo, Burkina Faso, and the things. They are using toll booths. So I don't see the reason why our toll booths should not work. Even the money that the government will gain from these toll booths, it will be more than that e-levy.
Meanwhile, the toll workers said that government's failure to re-engage them after the collection of tolls was halted has had an adverse impact on their livelihood. They therefore presented a petition to Parliament for which they were assured that their concerns will be addressed. Reporting for Metro News, Rosemary Anyimba, Accra.
All right, now let's do some more stories and we'll talk trash tonight. So tonight, Metro TV will bring you a premiering of a new show, Trash Talk, at 8 p.m. to discuss issues about sanitation, climate change, and recycling. Now, before we speak to our guests, watch this.
It is estimated that about 8,300 million metric tons of virgin plastics have been produced since 1950. Out of this, 6,300 million metric tons have turned to waste. That is as of 2015. Only 9% is recycled. 79% find itself in our environment and at landfills. The question is, what is the impact of all of this on us? On our health, on our environment, on the natural resources on which we are living. We want to delve into the issues of producers, collectors, policy, and the household level, you and I. How are we contributing to this problem? And what are the solutions? Look at what we are looking at right now and the problems that if we project in another 15 years, the kind of problems that we are going to have. And it's not only going to be related to flooding, it's going to be more. Join us on Trash Talk as we ask the salient questions, but more critically to educate you at the household level on the menace of plastic waste.
And Dr. Abena Enchi is your host tonight, 8 p.m. Doc, you're welcome to News.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you for making time, dedication for this program. So firstly, is there any hope for Ghana when it comes to trash?
On the program you come to learn that trash is not just trash. There are different categories of trash and different benefits to trash. And it's not an all lost situation. There is hope. And so that's why we'll be bringing on the show different experts to talk about the different uses to what we are calling trash. And Ghana needs to refocus its energies on policy implementation. That's why we are not looking at only the implementation at the household level. We are also interrogating the different aspects of policy, which should help us drive a certain agenda to rid ourselves of not managing trash or waste very well. Yes.
In your estimation, what do you think government has done, or what do you make of government's attempt to manage trash? When I heard trash talk, I thought, trash talk? What are they going to talk about? And then I saw the baller, yeah.
We knew it was going to catch people's attention.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk trash, people would interpret it differently.
Yeah.
But this is a very serious program which is going to focus so much of our energies on everybody involved, the different stakeholders, government, development partners, households, private sector. We also even are going to be talking about financing schemes. If we want the trash off our streets, for instance, whose responsibility is it? But when we talk about policy, government has done has initiated a number of policies in the space. You know, some about taxes, some also about a certain agenda. For instance, there's a policy on plastics and plastic waste. You know, so and then it has been a consultative process. But after we've consulted, after the policies have come, what next? And in the discussions, we'll see what the direction is, whether we all have a role to play or not.
Do we have anything about involving the new generation in this trash talk? Because there's been the criticisms about the educational, you know, structure that doesn't involve children and teach them how to dump refuse or litter or not to litter, how to separate liquid waste from solid waste and all that. So are we going to be seeing some segments that will involve the new generation?
Yes, in the first season, as you're going to see, we are going to start talking about the policy and all other things, but we also go into academia. We will also go not only into academia, but we'll talk about the different programs that are in schools, which get children educated. Because we don't want to say that we are broken yet, as we have a whole lot of adults, you know, dumping on the streets. But we need to get into the children the culture of the whole concept of waste and what some of them can do from it. So there are different aspects. We even talk about the role of gender. What are women's roles? Are women going to be able to be used as agents of change? We go not only into academia, we speak to the policymakers, we'll speak also to the politicians. Could we, for instance, at some point make a political promise of ridding our streets or the country of filth, for people to vote for you based on that kind of promise?
Like making Accra the cleanest city in West Africa?
Well, if another political party comes with a more compelling program, which we can buy into, why not? They should sell to the electorate through that. But what is critical to us is that health, environment, and sanitation should be on the agenda, the development agenda for a developing country such as Ghana.
So your new host on Metro TV is Dr. Abena Antwi, who is going to be sitting in for the trash talk. It's not what you're thinking. It's baller talk. So I think it cuts across children. Everybody can be, guests and sit and watch and enjoy. And it's going to be premiered tonight.
Yes, tonight,
right.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. So don't miss it. That's what time will allow us. Doc, thank you for coming through. You're still watching Newsbeat. It's time for us to give you business updates. So let's go for a breather. We'll be back shortly. Now, the country director for the World Bank, Pierre Laporte, has disclosed that between July 2021 and June this year, the World Bank has injected $903 million into the Ghanaian economy, and highest amount to be received by Ghana from any European institution. He said the amount signals confidence of World Bank in the Ghanaian economy and called for accelerated review of key sector in order to keep the economy running.
World Bank, we believe that it is a perfect blend between developing public sites and the right capital injection into the private sector SMEs, backed by adequate marketing drive traffic to Ghana that will result in the ultimate growth of the tourism sector in the country. In this period of global economic crisis, it is the right time to take calculated and strategic steps to review and grow our economies. Indeed, it is the time for development partners to show good faith with struggling economies. The World Bank Group stands resolute and prepared to go the long haul with countries like Ghana, and I urge players within the tourism value chain to reciprocate this gesture from the bank toward the tourism development project by ensuring demonstrable results at the end of the day. This will be the only motivating factor that will keep the project going. Your Excellency, before I conclude, I would just like to take this opportunity to quickly recap the performance of our program in Ghana over the last fiscal year that just ended last week on June 30th. This year, between July 1st, 2021 and June 30th, 2022, the World Bank approved a total of $903 million for Ghana. Never in the history of Ghana has any development institution approved such a large amount of money in one single year. And I take the opportunity to thank my colleague development partners for working together toward the common goal of helping reduce poverty in Ghana. This strong performance in delivery has also been accompanied by very encouraging disbursement performance. In the World Bank, we have a target to try to disburse at least 20% of our portfolio during a single year. This year we did close to 23%, well above our target. And this is really the work of everyone, from my bank colleagues to the government agencies, the ministries, and the PIUs.
You're still watching Newsbeat. We'll take a breather again, and when we're back, Phil John Quarter will be here to give us sports updates.
It's 50 past midday in the Ghanaian capital, Accra, and it's time for sports. My name is Phil John Quarter. The leadership of the Ghana Football Association have expressed excitement that more players are switching nationality to be available for selection ahead of the World Cup. But the head coach of Bibiani Gold Stars, Michael Sell, says the situation is worrying for local players.
Actually, the national level, you need exceptional players, the players who are playing high-level football. But all the same, we don't have to focus only on those who are playing outside, because you can get a lot of exceptional here, especially with the coaches here. We have the experience in the local scene and then foreign. We know that we have a very quality players here that you can add up with the team. The coaches comes and then they don't mind any player here. It's not even the respect for the local coaches here, because we are doing the fatigue work here, so they have to recognize.
That's your sports. My name is Phil John Quarter. Nanaya is ready for Showbiz.
Thank you, Johnny. Entertainment news is next. My name is Sanaya Tanabuachi, and as our very first story, renowned Ghanaian actress Akofa Ejiani Esiedu has advised the new crops of actors in the Ghana movie industry to add some training to their acting talent. Speaking exclusively to Metro TV this season, the actress believes the training will go a long way to enhance their skills.
I really don't have a problem with having new faces in the industry. The industry has to grow. There are a lot of good talent out there that need to be discovered. So it is how it should be, to have new faces alongside old faces. The only thing I can say is that it's not okay to just be a new face, but you must have the training. You must have the training. That is all that you need. So, and by training, I'm not saying go to the university. There are courses, 3 months, 6 month courses you can attend. There are people like us you can take as acting coaches. But whatever it is, get training, because. And it's funny, you know, when people want to build a house, they will get an architect to draw, they'll get a quantity surveyor. If you are sick, you go to a doctor, not a quack doctor, you know. All the other disciplines, they'll go to professionals. But when it comes to acting, people just think you can just take anybody on the street without any training at all, and it's okay.
Following the alleged domestic abuse of Nigerian gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu, versatile Ghanaian rapper and singer Wendy Shay has revealed that her hit song Survivor was inspired by her death.
My new song Survivor is a broken heart song. It's a personal song to me because, you know, broken heart is universal. It doesn't know if you're an artist or you're a star or you're whatever. It can happen to a man, it can happen to a woman. So I decided to do a song to empower women, especially who are in abusive relationships. So what really gingered this song was when I heard the death of the late Nigerian gospel singer Osinachi. That was the only way I could dissipate my anger, through music. And I want every woman, well, in some cases men, I want them to tap into that energy to dissipate every anger in them. Whenever you hear a Wendy Shay song, I want you to see a strong woman, an indomitable woman, a woman who is fierce, who doesn't give up, and empowers other women to be the same. So enjoy my new song, Survivor.
Now, the sentencing of Nigerian Instagram socialite Ramon Abbas, popularly known as Hash Papi, has again been postponed by the U.S. Central District Court in California. The initial sentencing was moved from February 14th to July 11th and now has been moved to September 21, 2022 at the request of the council. That's all on entertainment news. My name is Nanaya Tanabwache. Up next is international news.
Thank you, Nanaya. Let's take the international news. On the international front, Boris Johnson is yet to stand down as Conservative Party leader, but he intends to carry on as Prime Minister until the autumn. Now, he plans to stay in Downing Street until a new Tory leader has been elected to replace him. As Prime Minister, he has begun appointing new ministers to replace the ones that quit in protest at his leadership. However, the Tory MPs have been urging him to leave as soon as possible to avoid government paralysis.
We'll produce another leader equally committed to taking this country forward through tough times, not just helping families to get through it, but changing and improving the way we do things, cutting burdens on businesses and families, and yes, cutting taxes, because that is the way to generate the growth and the income we need to pay for great public services.
The man with certainly a tough skin. That's Set 4 Newsbeat here on Metro TV. Came to you live from the Akua Bohema studio at North Ridge. We're back at 4 with News Flash and at 7 with News Tonight. Subsequently, we'll bring you some more bulletins and we'll bring you details of what's happening with the MPP elections.